Welcome to the Introverted Misfit podcast with me, Caroline Smith, where you'll discover how to become a socially confident version of yourself while embracing your inner misfit. Chances are that you've gone your whole life thinking you have to fake being someone you're not just to fit in. You've got to exude lively, extroverted sociability to have the social life you've always wanted. Well, not here you don't. On this podcast, we'll discuss the different ways you can connect and communicate like the introverted misfit that you are. Enjoy the show, Misfit! Hello to all of you who are tuning into this episode of the Introverted Misfit podcast. My name is Caroline, aka the Introverted Misfit, and with my brand and coaching services, I help introverts who find socializing to be tricky and nerve-wracking build up their social confidence and find where they fit in. By now, hopefully you've heard my announcement in last week's episode about my upcoming virtual workshop that's going to be on March 30th, Introvert-Friendly Social Strategies for Gatherings and Events. If you're an introvert who struggles to navigate social situations and social settings, if you get really nervous, really confused, you don't know how to talk to people, where to start, you don't even know who wants to talk to you, this workshop is for you. And you can register using the link in the description of this episode or by going directly to theintrovertedmisfit.com/workshop. So, leading up to that workshop, I will be touching on some topics related to socializing in general, but particularly related to socializing in large social settings that are not always introvert-friendly or sensory-friendly. In other words, they're not conducive to people who get overwhelmed and burned out from very busy social environments. In this episode, I'll be talking about what happens to your psyche, self-esteem, when people think you're making up your fears or you're making up your discomfort around socializing. They think you must be over-exaggerating because it just sounds so quote-unquote silly to people who don't have those problems and who have never had those problems. During this work that I've been doing and pursuing for the past 2 years, I encounter some people occasionally who just don't get it. And usually these are the type of people who are extremely extroverted and social, or maybe they're not extroverted, but they're very social. Or they're not extroverted, but they can manage themselves well in social situations. So they've never struggled with their confidence around socializing. And they are just so far in the opposite direction of where you are right now that they cannot fathom the idea of being nervous about talking to people or going to an event with lots of people. And that's not to say that they don't have their own struggles. Of course they do. They're human. But they don't experience this particular struggle. They don't need social strategies. They don't have to think about what to say. They don't worry too much about who might reject them or who doesn't want to talk to them. They just get into the room and they do their thing. They do their social butterfly thing. Like a true social butterfly, they float around the room and strike up a conversation with whoever they want to, and they don't think twice about it. I've heard someone say, or someone ask, are there really people out there who are afraid of other people? And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, they do exist. I interact with them in some capacity almost every day. And of course, I get it. I understand what you're going through as a former social anxiety sufferer who is on the spectrum and who is still a major introvert. In other words, I would describe myself as an autistic introvert but minus the social anxiety and the overthinking and the being afraid of talking to people. I understand the fear that you feel, the uneasiness, the overstimulation, the loud sounds, the unceasing chatter. It can all be a lot for introverts like us, especially if you experience some additional social challenges and differences like being really shy, socially anxious, socially awkward, or on the spectrum like myself. And what happens to your psyche when people are convinced that you're making it up? You feel unheard and unseen. You feel like your problems don't matter. And worst of all, you feel like you must be insane because you're thinking, well, if I'm exaggerating, then what else could possibly be wrong with me? Was I just born with this irrational fear of talking to people? Am I just destined to be this way forever? Well, I'm here to tell you that I see you. And I want you to know that your fears, your nervousness, your discomfort, those are valid feelings. They're not just made up fears. If I had to guess, you have not had great experiences with socializing in the past. You've been ignored, laughed at, rejected, overlooked because of whatever reason. You're too quiet, too quote unquote boring. You like deep conversations. You have a quirky personality, as some might call it. And because of that, you avoid people as much as you can. Makes perfect sense to me. Your brain is doing exactly what it was meant to do whenever it experiences traumatic situations, traumatic events, such as social exclusion and ostracization, well, is that even a word? Being ostracized, and maybe even being bullied and laughed at. Your brain is trying to keep you emotionally safe in whatever way works, even if it's not the ideal, most practical solution for you. Basically, socializing is scary and not worth the risk. Therefore, your brain is saying, let's just not do it, ever. Let's just avoid social interactions as much as we possibly can. What happens when you eventually do have to socialize or want to socialize and meet new people? What happens when your favorite cousin that you grew up with is getting married and wants you to come to the wedding and the reception, or even wants you to be a part of the wedding ceremony? What happens when your friend throws a birthday party and wants you to come? What happens when your church has an event that you really want to go to? What happens when your workplace throws a holiday party and your boss keeps inviting you to come every year, but every year you keep avoiding it? So now you kind of feel like you should go this time, but you're too nervous to go. What happens when you want to go to a conference or a convention? Those things happen eventually. They come up. And realistically, how long can you keep avoiding them because you just get so overwhelmed in those kinds of social environments and you don't know how to manage that overwhelm and that overstimulation? Maybe you can keep avoiding them, but what is it costing you? It's costing you your peace of mind, because every time you step out of the house, you're always worrying about who you're going to see, if you'll have to talk to them and have some conversations that day and all that stuff. You might plan your whole day around, how can I avoid as many people as possible? It's costing you those meaningful relationships that every human being needs. I don't care what category you fall into. Disabled, introverted, neurodivergent, whatever. We all need human connection of some sort, even if it's from just a few people. Every time someone from your life, your social circle, invites you to something, you have to come up with all of these excuses as to why you can't come over and over and over again. And of course, I understand your need to socialize within your limits and listen to your social battery because we are introverts after all. But when the avoidance becomes excessive, at some point, something is not going to work. You're going to be unhappy with some part of your life as far as your relationships and social life go. Not to mention, if you don't currently have any friends or even just acquaintances or a social life, you're never going to find them if you never put yourself in situations to meet them. So let's fix that on March 30th. Let's come up with a strategy that works for you, your needs, and your limits so that you can make connections and socialize without overextending yourself. This workshop is not about forcing you to enjoy large social gatherings and events. Because again, I get it as an introvert myself. You have to socialize within your limits. That means you socialize when you're in the mood to talk to people, and when you're tired and drained, you need your alone time to recharge. That's why my workshop is specifically for you, because it's not about forcing you to enjoy social gatherings and events, especially large ones. It's about teaching you social strategies and coping techniques for when you have to socialize or want to socialize. This workshop is also not about convincing you that your excuses are silly and insignificant. I'm hosting this workshop because I understand that your fear of and your discomfort around socializing are valid. And I want to help you cope with them using specific strategies that were meant for introverts just like you, who may have additional social difficulties. So whether you're an introvert who struggles with shyness, social anxiety, feeling awkward, socially awkward in those kinds of settings, or some combination of those, my upcoming workshop will give you the practical tools and coping strategies that you need to navigate those social settings with confidence. And I would love to see you there. So if you want to grab your ticket before early bird pricing is over, register for my upcoming virtual workshop, Introvert-Friendly Social Strategies for Gatherings and Events, using the link in my bio, or by visiting theintrovertedmisfit.com/workshop. I hope that I will see you there. Hey, Misfit. If you enjoyed today's show, there's more where that came from. I want to invite you to join the Introverted Misfit newsletter so that you'll never miss an episode. In addition to being notified about new podcast episodes every week, you'll receive more value-packed content from me that will nurture your inner misfit and help you find and manage your very own introvert-friendly community. You can find the link in the description, the show notes, or you can go directly to theintrovertedmisfit.com/newsletter. I'll see you there.